May I have your attention, please?
We are controlling transmission. There is nothing wrong.
The Horror Chronicles.
Whether it's a ghost, spirit, or entity, they all feed on it. That's the whispering, the footsteps, the feeling of another presence.
You won't have a chance to change your minds later, because there'll be no way to get out.
We have such sights to show you.
Have you checked the children?
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Boogeyman's real.
That is better.
They're coming to get you.
They're here.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful edition of the Horror Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me, my buddy, JT.
What's up, everybody?
What's going on, buddy?
I feel like I just saw you.
I know, it's like I've been sitting here for like an hour and a half. Sorry, guys, we're got a lot of stuff. It's a busy day for us today.
Yeah.
But we're doing
cool.
good.
We're doing it.
We're moving on quite along with it. We're doing some new stuff here.
Yeah. Pretty exciting thing. We are launching a YouTube channel today.
Yes. So.
We don't really have any good video right now. We're gonna put up a short video of us talking to you guys, and then we're gonna release all of the podcasts on YouTube. But they're just gonna have our logo.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be audio file.
Yeah,
with our logo on top.
Right.
But we are working on the video aspect, guys.
Yeah, we've been looking at some equipment, and I think we're actually going to buy a webcam and start recording our episodes, and then we're going to release them on YouTube. You'll be able to see our ugly mugs and our dankly dark studio here. But then we're also, we're still going to be releasing episodes on our Castbox platform, and we're going to be branching out to some other platforms too.
Yeah, so we're basically going to be trying to get reached everywhere, guys. That way everybody can hear us. And, getting on YouTube's a big thing because we can reach more people there. A lot more people use YouTube a lot.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know why we haven't done this before. We just...
Well, we decided how we wanted to do things. We made a plan, and we're sticking with our plan, and we're just kind of going with, doing what we're doing. We're doing the right thing, I think.
We're selling out. We're going to YouTube.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
No, man, I'm really excited, because then we get to talk to you guys, and you guys can, the comment... It just seems like YouTube's a more active area.
Yeah. For sure.
And, once I get the studio built, for sure, we'll be putting way better camera system up, guys. And like we said, we're building this one leg at a time. But we're pretty excited.
It's a labor of love.
Yes. And I mean, it keeps you a little bit, especially when we both have full-time jobs, guys, and we're got a lot of stuff going on, and we're still we want to put this out there, put the best quality stuff we can out to you guys.
Right.
So.
Right.
And that being said, today, we are going to be talking about some of our favorite vampire movies.
Yes.
We just wanted to do something fun for us and something that...
we wanted to put out an episode we could really sink our teeth into.
Oh, boom. Oh, boy. And the cheesy jokes begin.
So hopefully you guys can bite into this episode.
Oh, man.
I never stop.
I tell you what, the knee slapper. Oh shit.
We're not going to get into too much of vampire origins. We talked about that, but we decided we're going to leave that for a different episode because we could spend a lot of time talking about the origin of vampires. And, then whenever we do that episode, that's one thing I really want to do is I want to get into the origin story. Mm-hmm. And then I want to talk about how it made it into Hollywood and how Hollywood has changed, our perspective of the vampire.
And try to ruin it with a TV or a movie called Twilight.
Yeah, well...
I'm getting out of the way now. We're going to talk about it now and get it out of the way now.
Just get it out of your system now.
Like, come on,
Sparkly
people.
bastard.
The only time that vampires sparkle in the sunlight is right before they explode.
Right before they burst into flames.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to get into it. We have to mention the show, though, just because some people like it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It is what it is. But anyway, for real, guys, we're going to talk about some really good vampire movies that we like and give you guys some suggestions if you haven't, which I'm sure most of you guys have seen a lot of these because you're horror fanatics like we are.
Yeah, it's funny. When Ryan approached me with this episode, he said, I really, want to talk about some of the newer movies and stuff. And when I really sat down and looked at it, I had to, for me, and you, I had to put in some of the older stuff because we have to talk about some of those older movies to even be able to touch on the newer movies.
Yeah. So
So I'm just going to start this off with the original, the very first, and that is Nosferatu from 1922. And it, it starred this guy, Max Schreck, who played Count Orlok, was his name in the movie. Silent film, but that is truly the very first vampire movie to make it into mainstream.
Wow.
1922, nobody had really seen anything like this. There weren't really horror movies back then. There were a few, but we're not going to talk about those here. But Nosferatu is what really started the, I guess you could say, Hollywood version of the vampires.
Yeah.
So we are really here to just talk about our favorites, but I have to mention that.
Yeah.
It is by far not my favorite vampire movie. I have seen it. I've watched it. By today's standards, it's a hard movie to sit through, but it really gives you a perspective on how people thought about the genre back then.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to let Ryan start off with some of his favorites.
Well, let's see here. Of course, you guys have heard me say this before, but one of my favorites of all time, period, was a huge part of my childhood, and I also, literally to a point where I turned myself into one of these, is Lost Boys.
Great movie.
1987.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Joel Schumacher was the director, which I haven't seen a whole lot of his movies, I guess. But this had a pretty good casting. I mean, you got Jason Patric as Michael. You got Corey Haim as Sam. Diane Wiest as Lucy, which is the boys Michael and Sam's mom. Ed Herman, he played Max, which was the head vampire at the time, and love interest of Diane Wiest. And you had Jamie Gertz, who played Star.
Lovely Jamie Gertz.
Yes. Corey Feldman, of course, as Edgar Frog, and Jameson Newlander as Alan Frog. And the Frog Brothers, man, I was a Frog Brother.
You're still a Frog Brother.
Yes, you guys have heard me say this before on other episodes of our podcast. This movie is... I know I talk about movies that are a big part of my childhood, but this one is like a staple. For me.
Yeah.
This
it
movie
was for a lot of people. What sucked me into this movie was the music in it. I mean, I come from a very metal background. I'm a huge metalhead, and the music that they played in this movie was right. I mean, it was perfect with that mid-'80s theme,
Yeah.
There was a lot of hair metal in Hollywood at that time, and, a lot of big bands. Metallica was huge. I mean, Metallica's still huge, but, it really, I don't know, it cemented the whole era, You
mean the half-naked guy playing the saxophone didn't
Yeah,
draw you
yeah.
in?
Man, that was my favorite part, dude. That dude was sexy as hell. He even turned me on.
Dude, I'm telling you. But no, this movie, man, it is a guaranteed. This is the first movie I let my son watch. And the first, this movie holds a very big chunk of my heart. It's crazy, man. I don't know, something about this movie that to me, this is.
Just all the cool stuff, and to me, David, the vampire David, played by Kiefer Sutherland, he was the coolest of the cool
ever
bad boy
ever
vampires. I mean, he just yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, the guy was just. If you haven't seen the movie, there's no way I can put it into perspective on how great of a part he played in this film.
Yeah, if you haven't watched this movie, you have to see it.
You have to. I mean,
you can watch it with your kids. There's no nudity or anything in it.
Right.
There's some cuss
Other
words
than
and
the
stuff.
dude playing saxophone.
Yeah. But, yeah, this movie is very, very, very important to me. And it will always be played in my house at least once a year.
You know, and this is one of those movies that for people of our age group, I mean, this is a very important movie for a lot of people. I mean, it was just very well made.
Yes.
Just the cast was perfect together. Even the guy that played what was it? Winters. What was
the grandpa?
No. The kid. He was in the.
Oh, the little kid?
No, not the kid, but he was in the vampire group with Kiefer Sutherland. It was Winters that was in Bill and Ted.
Yes, Bill and Ted. Yeah. God dang it, what's his name? I didn't write it down. I should have remembered that.
What the hell was his name?
But yeah, he's great. He played Marco, didn't he?
Yeah. He was Alex Winter was his name, and he played
I believe he played Marco, right?
Yeah, he was Marco in the film, but he was also in Bill and Ted. He was
man, and they're making another one of those, by the way.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Lost Boys. I can't say enough. This movie is definitely a staple in my home. It will always be played at least once a year.
Great movie.
Another one came out the same year is Near Dark.
Near Dark, yes.
Which is hard to find, by the way.
With the late Bill Paxton. That movie is impossible to find. I found some copies that you can purchase, but you got to be willing to shell out some cash for it. I was seeing them from anywhere from $80 to $150 for a copy of this movie. Very hard to find.
Yeah, and it's a great movie. I mean, like you said, it's got Bill Paxton, who played Severn, and he was a freaking... I love Bill Paxton. Almost every movie he's
And he
made.
wasn't the main star of the movie either.
Nope. And actually, this movie has one of my favorite characters. You know him if you've seen Pumpkinhead.
Oh, Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen. I mean, he played Jesse Hooker.
Yeah.
But, dude, I love that guy.
Yeah.
I love him in movies, man.
He is fantastic. He's done a lot of stuff.
So awesome.
He played the robot in Aliens.
Yes. Yep.
The android.
The android.
Yeah.
Of course, like we said,
of course, Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead. I mean, that's a great movie. But
we'll have to do an episode about Pumpkinhead.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'll be on the list. Bill Paxton, like we said, a great guy. I mean, that dude was an awesome actor.
He really was.
And then just another quick mention in there was what's her name? Jenny Wright. She played May, which was the love interest or whatever you want to.
Yeah.
And the movie is great. It's basically the story of a farmer's kid, who ends up joining this band of vampires because he gets bit or whatever, and story goes from there. I don't want to give away too much of the movie.
It always starts with a bite.
Yeah. But there's really good parts in it. I mean, a lot of gore. Definitely can't let your kids watch this one.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie for adults if you want to watch it for sure.
Yeah, really cool movie.
There's two brothers, like I said before. Sam and Michael, and their mom. She's divorced, and they go to move in with their, her grandpa, and they move in this town. So Santa Carla, And they got to go and try to find. They go out the boardwalk and stuff, try to find stuff to do and whatnot. And like you said, the music is everything in it. It's played in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aerosmith. There's a lot of Aerosmith in this movie. Whenever Sam goes whenever Sam goes and meets the Frog Brothers for the first time, the Frog Brothers.
What is up with that name? I don't know why they.
Their parents own a comic book store on the boardwalk, and he's huge into comics. And it's just funny because like when he first meets them, like he's walking around, he's got this stupid, ugly, hideous freaking wardrobe on. I don't know. It's 80s, man. I don't know. Whatever. But Edgar and Alan, you know, they pop their heads out. The show's one pop their head out, the other one pop their head out. They're looking at them, you know, and they're all dressed up in their camo and shit like that. You know, he walks up to him and he's like, what's up, guys? He's like, nothing, just scoping your civilian wardrobe.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool, ain't it? He's like, yeah, for a fashion victim. But the movie's just good. The way they filmed this movie, there's so much going on, like, at the same time that it really makes you you got to follow, you know, because at this whole time that he is meeting the Frog Brothers, his older brother Michael, is, you know, following this chick that he sees who is Star, and he don't know it at the time, but she's a vampire, and he's following her around.
Man, that chick sucks.
Yeah, in a good way.
Whoa.
Anyway, yeah, he's falling for her and stuff, and he goes and he buys a leather jacket, and he gets his ears pierced, and he's trying to look the part, you know what I mean? And
he had such great hair too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Just to think about the things you would do as a kid to get a girl.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I get all that too.
Yeah. So he's changing himself, you know. And what's cool about the movie, for me, what was the coolest about it was, at the time when I was a kid watching it, was I always want to have that battle. The battle of good and evil, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to fight the werewolf, you're going to fight the vampire, you're going to do this, you're going to save whatever. And but in reality, you know, the movie's about, you know, it's kind of like about childhood. It's weird. It's about growing up, the difference in child and going through these stages in life, you know, because it's funny if you think about it like this. You know, you look at you got the Frog Brothers and Sam, who are the young kids, you know what I mean? It's weird. I went down this trip in my head, okay? There's a part where Lucy, who's the mother, she finds this little boy on the boardwalk who can't find his mom. So there you get your childhood stage.
Right.
You can't find your mom or whatever, you know. You depend on mom, you need your mom, blah, blah, blah. And then you got Sam, who's a little bit older. He still needs his mom,
but he doesn't want to find her.
Yeah, and he doesn't, and he kind of independent, so he's kind of on that thing. And then you got Michael, who's the older brother, completely independent, doesn't want to take care of his brother, just wants to do his own thing, doesn't need anybody, or he thinks he doesn't need anybody, you know. And then you got the mom, who's the adult. And she's seeing everything. And then you got the grandpa who winds up saving the day at the end.
Right.
But then you got the grandpa, and it's just this basic, like, build up. The movie is not that boring as I just as I just made it sound.
It's a family flick.
Yeah, well, it's a movie that I have been able to think about over time because I watch it on a regular basis.
Right.
So the initial thought for me was, this is cool. These three boys are killing vampires.
Yeah.
They're killing vampires. They get to do all this cool shit.
Yeah, but really, there's a lot more to
there's just in-depth movie. You know what I mean? And if you look at it with open eyes, and it was just kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
But in all reality, when I was younger, that's me now. And when I was younger, I was a Frog Brother. I dressed up in camouflage. I was killing vampires. That's who I was. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about another one?
Sure. I'm going to tell you about one of my favorites.
Rock on.
And it's one of those movies. It was a made-for-TV movie, an adaptation of a Stephen King book, and I'm talking about the original Salem's Lot. It came out in 1979. This is probably my all-time favorite vampire movie. I saw it as a young child. Probably one of the first movies that really scared me. So many iconic scenes in this movie, so many great actors. David Soul plays the main character in the movie, Ben Mears. He is a writer that grew up in this town but then moved away, and he's been living in New York for years and putting out books. And he has come back to town to write a story about this house called the Marsden House, which when he was a little kid, growing up in the town, that was the house that every town has this house. Every town has a house that all the kids claim is haunted. And as a child, he went in the house as a dare and saw some disturbing things inside the house. And they get into that in the movie. He tells a story about, what happened there. But he comes back to town, and this house has now been rented out by this guy named William Stryker, who is played by the fantastic James Mason. And he has rented out this house with a gentleman he calls Mr. Barlow. Nobody in town has seen Mr. Barlow because Stryker claims that Barlow is in Europe on an expedition or something, and he is getting the house ready for Mr. Barlow. So he opens up an antique shop in town, and the whole movie is about Ben Mears, David Soul, knows there's something wrong in this town. There's something going on that cannot be explained. Shortly after Stryker moves into town, a couple of the boys in town, one of them gets killed, and the other one survives the attack but ends up in the hospital. This is the Glick brothers, Danny and Ralphie Glick. Ralphie is the younger one. He's the one that ends up getting killed, and his brother Danny ends up in the hospital. While Danny's in the hospital, his little brother Ralphie comes to visit him in the hospital by floating up to the window and scratching on the window. And that is one of the creepiest scenes. I don't care who you are. Still today, that is one of the creepiest scenes in a movie, is little Danny Glick floating outside this window, scratching on the window pane, trying to get his brother to let him in the room. Of course, his brother lets him in the room. Ralphie floats in the window and bites Danny Glick on the neck. And then the next scene they show is the nurse walking in, and she finds Danny Glick laying dead in his bed. So now they bury him, and as he's being buried, the great Jeffrey Lewis is the groundskeeper at the cemetery, and he is there to bury Danny Glick's body. And as he starts to shovel the dirt onto the coffin, the wind kicks up, and he starts staring down into this open grave. Well, he ends up jumping down on top of the coffin and uncovers the dirt off the coffin and opens the coffin lid, and you can see Danny Glick laying in this coffin, and you can tell right away that there's something wrong with this kid. Oh, well, of course he's dead. But, you're like, okay. Well, then he looks up, and as he looks up, this kid raises up out of the grave, and the scene cuts right after that. You can tell the kid's going to bite him in the neck. Well, he ends up going to this other house, and Jason Burke is he's a school teacher, and he's the one that teaches literature and drama and stuff at the school. And he is where he kind of taught Ben Mears how to write and be a journalist and all this stuff. And so Ben Mears is really there to see Jason and, some of the other people. Well, he ends up going back to this house, and Jason takes him in. And anyway, the whole movie is about all these people changing into vampires and attacking the town. And as the story goes by, Mr. Barlow finally shows up, and he's like the head vampire. And then it's up to the two guys, Ben Mears and, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot the kid's name. Oh, good Lord. Anyway, him and this kid, they know that the vampires are there, and they're trying to save the town or whatever, and they end up having to escape the town at the end of the movie. Just a great vampire movie. There's no nudity in it because it was made for TV movie, but if you really, really want to scare the crap out of your kids, let them watch this movie. Fantastic movie. It is it's about 3 hours long. Wow. It's a long movie.
Wow.
There are copies out there. I've got a copy of it. I watch it on a regular basis. I absolutely love this movie. It's very atmospheric and dark, and it's great the way I just love the way they filmed this movie.
Yeah, and then
can you tell I really like Salem's Lot?
Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, that's kind of like with me with Lost Boys, like talking about the way they filmed it.
Well, I'm going to get into some older stuff because, it's stuff that I grew up with.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot of new stuff. There's like one, as far as for me, there's one movie that I got that was newer.
And I do have a lot of newer movies that I want to mention. And really we're not doing a chronological vampire order here. Yep. We're just talking about some of our favorite movies. But I'm going to give some mentions to some other movies. And this segment may be a little long, and please jump in whenever you can.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I just want to talk about these very important movies in vampire lore. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is probably the most important is Dracula, the 1931 version with Bela Lugosi. It was based off of Bram Stoker's novel called Dracula. Mm-hmm. And they kept very true to the story. Old black and white movie, like I said, it's from 1931. Very well made movie. Bela Lugosi plays probably one of the best Draculas ever. He's got the voice, he's got the mannerisms, he's got the look. I mean, he's just, for me, whenever I think of Dracula, I think of two different people. I think of Bela Lugosi and Christopher Lee. And these two kind of lead in together. So, I told you that, this movie was based off of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in this movie, but for you people that have never watched the original, I know you have seen the 1992 version, Bram Stoker's Dracula, with Gary Oldman playing Dracula, Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder. That movie is, I hate to say better, but it is a more accurate
depiction.
I don't know if it's a more accurate depiction. It's just a better visual depiction.
Gotcha. It's just newer.
They could do a lot more with it, and they told a lot more story in that. And we all know that, that movie revolves around, Winona Ryder has gone to this place, she's gone to this place and is being, for lack of a better word, being seduced by Dracula.
Yep.
And Keanu Reeves, who plays her
boyfriend or husband?
Well, I think they were fiance.
Yeah.
He is there to try and get her back. He actually goes there to interview him.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of talk about him. And he goes as a reporter to write a story about Count Dracula. At this time, nobody knows anything about vampires. They're just going to learn a story about this guy. And it leads into a bunch of, great movie. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that movie. It is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I will say the first time I saw it, I was kind of disappointed in it. But the whole time I was watching it, I kept thinking of Lugosi's Dracula. And it's two separate movies. It's the same story, but you got to look at it two separate movies. A standalone movie, great movie. But the original Dracula that came out in 1931 spawned all of these different vampire movies, and it spawned an entire series of Dracula movies.
Yeah.
There was, the Satanic Rites of Dracula, Count Dracula,
the Wife of Dracula,
Dracula, Bride of Dracula. They're just all these movies.
Daughter of Dracula.
For me, I really gravitated towards Christopher Lee. I loved Christopher Lee's portrayal of Dracula. He was very what's the word? I mean, he was very nostalgic. I mean, and he really seemed like somebody that would come from royalty. He had that great Christopher Lee voice, that deep, just you can't deny that he played a fantastic Dracula. Well, his first Dracula came out in 1970. And then in 79, they did another Dracula movie, and they used this guy. His name was Frank Langella. He played a great Dracula, but it was 1979. It was kind of...
Yeah.
It's not the best out there.
It was just
It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
Because there's some really cool stuff. The scene that sticks out to me the most is him climbing up the outside wall of the castle to get to the room where the woman is.
Yeah.
Just a really cool scene. But the Frank Langella Dracula, what was so cool about it is it also starred Laurence Olivier. And thinking in my head, Laurence Olivier played Van Helsing.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a cool dynamic. He was there to defeat Dracula,
Yeah.
Just, Universal did a lot of cool stuff with their monster series, which was, of course, started with Dracula, then Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
Just the Universal monsters, to me, will always hold a big place in my heart because I grew up with them. I grew up seeing those movies. I've talked to you about Saturday Night Shocker numerous times.
Oh, yeah.
They were always on late at night, and it just... growing up as a kid in the 70s, that's what we had for, horror movies. And, and then we got into more modern horror. And, then I got really sucked into slasher movies. But,
yeah, everybody's got their era. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But,
for certain movies.
But, yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. And, a movie that was kind of newer, but gave you that older feel for vampires was Interview with the Vampire.
Yes. Now, I did not put that in my list because I figured we'd spend some time on that.
Yeah, if you want to, we can just wait.
Well, no. Let's go forward. If you've got the information, let's do it.
Well, I just got a little bit here on it. It came out in 94.
Okay.
And it had a pretty good cast.
They had a fantastic cast.
Well, the director was Neil Jordan.
Okay.
Don't know that really. I don't really know that director. I don't know any other. But you got.
Brad. But we do need to get into who wrote this. It was written by Anne Rice, who did an entire vampire series of books, and they are some of the best vampire books on the market. She has a way about her, the way she writes. She's very, very good at what she does. She is to vampire, she's like, the best way to describe her is she's the Stephen King of vampire books. She's just...
So did she write the Vampire Lestat?
Yes. She also did Queen of the Damned.
Yeah, God, and that's a good movie.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. So in this movie, you've got Brad Pitt, who plays Lewis, however you want to... Mm-hmm. You got Tom Cruise, who plays Lestat.
Yeah, and Luis is a vampire that is turned by Lestat.
Yes.
And Lestat is looking for how do you put that, a protege maybe?
Yeah, protege. That's perfect word.
Somebody to kind of help him take up the ranks and,
yeah.
Yeah.
And, but see, the whole point of okay, when we go through a couple people, you got Christian Slater, who plays Malloy.
Mm-hmm.
You got Kirsten Dunst, very young Kirsten Dunst.
Very young, very young.
She plays Claudia. And then you have Antonio Banderas as Armand.
Yeah, the Kirsten Dunst thing, that was very creepy and very hard for me to watch.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You know, I mean, at the time when it came out, I mean, it wasn't because she was young or none of that. It was because of what happened to her in this movie. I mean, it was just very disturbing.
It's weird, man.
Yeah, it really is.
So basically, you got Malloy, who's played by Christian Slater. Like I said, he's an interviewer. And he's got this. Oh, I'm gonna go interview a vampire. You know, it's like this guy claims he's a vampire or whatever. So he goes to interview this guy. And he's interviewing Brad Pitt, who is Louise. And he goes in and telling the story about everything, and about Lestat, who was played by Tom Cruise, who turned him. And, I mean, since you talked about it a little bit, you know, Kirsten Dunst, who played Claudia, she was a kid, and her, basically, I can't remember if it showed her whole family, but she was with her mom, who had the Black Plague and had died. And she was dying, and Louise decided.
That's funny because I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, she had the Black Plague.
Right.
And he had, since he's a vampire, he was immune, so he started walking around, you know, down looking at all these people that were dying from the plague and stuff, and he found this little girl. She was probably 6 or 7?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and
it just dawned on me, the whole Anne Rice thing we were talking about, this whole vampire series thing that she did. Guess what it was called?
What?
The Vampire Chronicles.
Burn.
It just popped into my head, and I had to look it up real quick because I was like, oh, I think that was called The Vampire Chronicles.
That's awesome.
Yeah, The Vampire Chronicles, and it was an entire series.
Yeah, great movies too. I haven't read the books all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so basically it shows that they turn you, and in the vampire world, you're not supposed to turn a child.
Right.
Because
once you're turned, you stay that age forever.
Yeah, and not only that, but you're in the same mindset, and you got as a child, you can't control your hunger, you can't control your, the way you feel, your feelings, your emotions, your outbursts.
Right. You're not mature enough.
You're not mature. So it's a big ordeal, and like you're talking about.
And who wants to remain an 8-year-old child for the rest of your life?
Yeah, and I mean that's a big part of it, and then
for the next 400 or 500 years, however long you live.
Yeah, and then like you said, what happens to her? It's just it's a crazy, crazy story.
Right.
But then the main thing is about him telling him about Lestat, who turned him, and he was telling him the whole story of who he was before he got turned and all this stuff. And basically, as I'm not going too deep into it, but as Malloy's leaving from interviewing him, Lestat shows up in his car and bites him and stuff, and puts him in the back, and he starts driving, and it kind of just fades off from there.
Yeah.
So
and the song they play at that time is "Sympathy for the Devil" from the Rolling Stones. Great song to end that movie on.
It's a good movie. I don't watch it all the time. It's not one of my favorites, but I think it was one that really needs to be discussed a little bit, just because I think it's an important one.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's a very popular movie. I mean,
it's not one of my favorites. I will tell you that.
No, it's not one of my favorites either. I have watched it a couple times. There's too much story there, and honestly, I'm not a Brad Pitt fan or a Tom Cruise fan at all. I like some stuff that Tom Cruise has done. Don't get me wrong. I just, I don't. That movie to me is a movie that is made for women to lust over.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm not knocking it by no means. It's not one of my favorites.
Oh yeah. Well, what is one of your favorites, JT?
Well, I'm going to talk about some weird ones here.
Oh, that's a little creepy, boys.
Not really weird, but like different. And the big one that I'm going to talk about, and probably one of my favorite, more modern ones, is From Dusk Till Dawn.
I'm glad you thought about that.
I absolutely love that movie.
I have to.
Came out in 1996.
Yes.
Stars George Clooney.
Well, here, hold on a second. Hold on one second.
Oh, he's got to get prepared here.
Well, let me tell you. Robert Rodriguez, of course, is the director.
Right.
Okay. The writer was Robert Kurtzman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Quentin Tarantino was the screenwriter or whatever of it. Now, the cast. You're getting ready to get into it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
dude, let me go down the damn line of the people who are in this movie.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
You've got George Clooney. You got Quentin Tarantino. You got Harvey Keitel. Juliette Lewis.
Who, by the way, is the daughter of Jeffrey Lewis, who was just in the movie I was talking about, Salem's Lot.
Yes. Yep. You got Ernest Louis, or how you say his last name, Louis. It's Liu.
Luis.
You got Selma Hayek, Cheech Marin, Danny Trejo, Tom Savini, son.
Tom Savini is probably one of the best makeup artists on the planet.
And one of my favorite damn actors.
Yeah, he did a great job in this movie.
You've got Fred Williamson, who's in a ton of movies. Mm-hmm. He's the big black dude that was in there.
Yeah.
I love him, dude. John Saxon.
Yes, sir.
Dude, Michael Parks.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean,
it's insane the amount of people that are in this movie.
I could go down this list, dude. And
it's crazy.
Greg Nicotero.
Yeah.
Dude.
Who is Greg Nicotero?
Come on, people. Come on.
If you don't know the name Nicotero, you are not a horror fan.
I mean, he's in the damn movie, son. I mean, dude.
Yes, sir. The
list goes on and on.
So let's just get it out there. So George Clooney, and Quentin Tarantino are brothers. And they have committed a crime. They robbed a bank.
They're robbers.
They're bank robbers. So they are trying to get away from.
They're trying to get to this place to meet this guy. They're doing some kind of deal transfer. They're
right.
They're getting to this place to go meet the guy that they're trying to hook up with. Basically, that's what they're doing. They're trying to get to the Titty Twister.
Titty Twister. That is the greatest name of a bar I've ever.
Oh God, dude!
And I love the place when they pull up outside it, and all the lights are on, and they got all this neon, and all these bikers riding their bikes around.
And Cheech comes out and fucking makes his speech.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Just classic movie. And then they walk in the place.
But yeah, well, what's?
Well, go ahead.
They're on their way to this place, right? And they end up going into this gas station or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they wind up killing this cop.
Well,
and this...
Quentin Tarantino does that. He freaks out and accidentally kills the guy.
He moved. He flinched. Yeah, and he's like, he didn't do anything. But anyway, Quentin Tarantino's a fuck up in this movie, basically.
Yeah.
And so then they end up hijacking this family.
Right.
Well, I guess it's not really a family, right? It
is
a father-daughter.
Yes, it's a father, daughter, and son. They are. And
he's adopted though. The kid's adopted, right?
The son is an adopted.
Like Asian.
Yeah, he's an Asian kid, and he's adopted. Well, the father is a minister.
Yes.
And they are traveling across country in a Winnebago, like an RV.
Yeah.
And they end up stopping at the same hotel where these two brothers. What was their names?
The brothers' names. What are you talking about? The
George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino.
Gecko is their last name.
The Gecko brothers, that's it. So the Gecko brothers are hiding out in this this motel, this little, hole in the wall motel.
Seth Gecko and Richard Gecko.
Yeah. And
Richard Gecko.
Now they're
Rico.
Hey, that's funny. I never thought about that.
Funny.
But anyway, they end up staying at the same little motel where the Gecko brothers are hiding out, kinda, There's a shootout or something, because I remember Quentin Tarantino get shot in the hand, or did his brother?
That's in. You're talking about the part. That's when they wind up getting in with these people at the gas station.
Right. Right. So they're there and they're nursing his wound or whatever, and George Clooney plays his part to a T in this. I mean, he is like the leader of the pack,
Yeah.
But they end up, and it's funny, you think of George Clooney, wait till you see him in this movie. He is like a totally different actor. I mean, I actually love George Clooney in this movie.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge Clooney fan.
I'm not either. He's done some good movies.
But in this movie,
he is like a totally different person. I mean, he is like action star of, I mean,
he's a real motherfucker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I mean, he's a badass.
Yeah, he's a real
motherfucker. And so anyway, they end up trying to figure out a way, because now it's got out that they're in this motel. So they end up escaping this motel in this Winnebago with this minister and his two kids. Well, then they kind of take them hostage and make them take them to this place.
The Titty Twister.
Which
is a cool place too, because like the way they got it set up is basically it's a strip club.
Yeah.
For vampires, or all vampires there, they draw these truckers in. And stuff, and
use them as victims.
Yep, and then and they also have all their shit, all their loot, and everything like that. So,
so they walk in this place and order some beers, and one of the first people they meet when they walk in, well, of course they meet Cheech Moran.
He's out there
on the front porch of the place,
does his big speech, man,
and does a speech, and it's just it's a kick-ass speech.
Love it.
and then they walk in the bar, and one of the first people they meet in the bar is Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
He is the bartender.
Yeah.
And, there's an exchange between them or whatever. Well, then they go and they sit down and they announce their star attraction.
Yeah.
And Salma Hayek comes walking out as a stripper in a bikini with a big-ass boa constrictor snake.
Yeah, her name is Santiago Pandemonium.
Yeah. And she does one of the sexiest dances, striptease, whatever you want to call it, in any movie. I mean, she is absolutely gorgeous and has a body that will not quit. I don't care.
Old as shit.
Oh, really? But
I seen her with her husband. I'm like, what? That's getting wasted. Never mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend nobody. But
But yeah, she does the sexy dance, and of course, Quentin Tarantino's character just falls head over heels in love with this woman. And they've got this band playing in the background and stuff, and the band. I don't remember the band that was playing. I remember I looked it up, but now I can't remember the name of the band. But you can actually buy their music.
Oh, that's cool.
Not too long into it, a fight breaks out. And, of course, George Clooney's got to save his brother because his brother's gotten in trouble. And
basically all hell breaks loose.
All hell breaks loose. And all these people inside this bar start changing and turning.
Yeah, because he sees it. Well, George Clooney's sitting there looking around, and they're like, "What the fuck is going on?" You know? He knows something's up.
Yeah.
So and then what's her name bites? Doesn't Quentin Tarantino get bit?
Yeah.
And that's when he's like, "What the?" George Clooney kicks off, grabs his gun and shit.
Right.
Yeah, it's
then everybody starts changing into vampires.
Yeah,
and then it's just a fight to survive.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because when you look at the situation, you've got the Gecko brothers in there. These two guys they're mass robbers, very bad guys, and they're sitting at a table with a minister and his two young children.
Yeah.
In a strip club.
Oh, yeah.
It's very bizarre. But then the movie turns into a fight to survive.
Yeah, and you got freaking Tom Savini.
There is some of the best kill scenes and gore of any vampire movie. There are a couple other guys in the bar that are not vampires, and one of them is the big black dude.
His name is... Fred, Frost is his name in the...
Frost, okay. And he's ex-military,
big dude,
big badass dude, and it's all about this group of people trying to
Tom
survive
Savini's
this.
got that badass belt fucking gun.
Yeah, that flips out.
Dink. Yeah.
Looks like he's
down. He's like,
he's got a double barrel boner,
dude. Awesome, man.
I
freaking love Tom Savini.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorites, man.
He is great in this movie.
But yeah, and then just the really good fight scenes from then on. Just they. And then,
dude, and then they get in that back room and they start trying to figure out how to make different stuff, and they make that one gun. It's
Clooney does. He sticks a freaking it's a jackhammer.
It's a jackhammer that shoots it's got a wooden stake
in it,
and then they've got another gun that shoots stakes, don't they? It's like a Gatling gun or something.
Well, she picks up a cross. It's a crossbow.
Oh, it's a crossbow. That's right. That's right.
She picks up.
Yeah. And,
dude.
Yeah.
Good. This movie is awesome.
Oh,
you definitely can't watch it with your kids.
No.
But it's a great freaking movie.
No. Oh, and it's funny because after everybody changes, then they show the band again, and the band's all these grotesque vampires. And I remember
bodies.
the one guitar player, his guitar is made out of a dead body.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much over the top chaos going on. It's just a really fun.
That's a good movie for anyone, the adults, to watch together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If if you're into horror movies and you're an adult, you want to watch a movie with your whatever, do it. This one's a good one, man.
Oh yeah,
it's a star-studded cast.
Yeah, great movie to watch. Great movie. Highly recommend.
I'm glad you brought that up.
So.
And one other one that is a little bit older, but they just redid it not too long ago, was Fright Night.
Yes.
And it came out in '85. The original did. It's directed by Tom Holland, and just a couple of the characters. I mean, let's just go ahead and say it. Roddy McDowall, played by Peter Vincent.
Yeah, and he is synopsis with 70s horror. I mean, he was in a lot of, 70s. He's just really creepy, and it's funny. I have always thought this. Roddy McDowall, okay? Anthony Perkins did a fantastic Norman Bates in the Psycho series, but Roddy McDowall could have pulled that part off very well.
Oh, you mean Peter Vincent?
Too.
Peter Vincent.
No. Well, I'm talking about Roddy McDowall.
Okay.
Okay. Who played Peter Vincent in Fright Night.
Yes.
But Anthony Perkins played Norman Bates in the Psycho series.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is Roddy McDowall would have been a great Norman Bates.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a little bit of my.
Yep, and then you got Charlie Brewster, who played William Ragsdale, I guess.
Well, William Ragsdale was his name. He played Charlie Brewster.
That's what I said. That's what I meant. But it's a great movie. I like the remake too a little bit. I mean, it was okay. The remake.
The remake was strange. They changed the main character. So in the original, the main character, the main vampire, was Sarandon. Chris Sarandon, who is the brother of Susan Sarandon, who is in another one of my movies down here that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But anyway, in the new movie, I didn't write down any information on the new movie. Colin Farrell was the main character in that.
Yes.
But the main vampire was played by a woman, wasn't it?
That's in part. There's a part 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
They did a Fright Night 2.
That's right. Okay. That's where I'm getting that from.
Yep,
yeah, Colin Farrell was the main
guy in the first one. Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Fright Night was a very fun movie.
It's a good
very
little
80s.
Yeah, very fun little.
And basically, it was about a kid that suspected his neighbor was killing somebody, and he tries to get all these people to go investigate him, and they won't go, and he tells his mom, and anyway, this vampire ends up coming to their house for dinner, or something, dude. And he's like, "Whoa, wait a minute, I know this guy killed, but of course he finds out, throughout the movie that he's a vampire, and he ends up enlisting the help of Peter Vincent, who was played by Roddy McDowall.
Yeah.
To come and help him. And really, it's really funny because Roddy McDowall is not a vampire hunter. per se. He
He's TV.
plays one on TV.
Yeah.
But, hey, it worked out. Ended up, since he did play a TV vampire hunter, he had a lot of the props and stuff and knew a lot about vampires because he had to do research for the show and stuff.
Yeah, it's a good, fun little movie.
It is.
That's one that I liked.
It really is.
You want to go ahead?
So, I want to talk a little bit about the Underworld series.
Okay.
I remember when I saw the first Underworld, which the first Underworld came out in 2003. They have now made 4 movies out of this series. I absolutely loved the original movie. Kate Beckinsale has got to be the most beautiful vampire I've ever seen in my life.
The most beautiful woman.
She plays a vampire Celine. She was so good at it. And I think from reports that I read, she hated playing that part because she does not like to flaunt her body. And she had to wear a skin-tight leather outfit.
Keep going.
For all of these movies. And she did it fantastic. I mean, fantastic series. And that whole series is about the war between the vampires and the Lycans. Which is a great story that has been going on in vampiric lore for ages, But I just really love that whole series. They had some misses here and there, but all in all, if you look at the series as a whole, it's very fun. Underworld is probably one of the most action-packed vampire movies out there.
She's jelly of freaking...
I love all the action. I love the gadgets that they had, and I love that whole series.
Celine's
I
just
really do.
Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. But, and
then she went from that, she went and did the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, dude.
And you think she's gorgeous in Underworld? Oh my God, she is like over the top, most beautiful woman on the planet in Van Helsing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Just holy crap.
Holy
crap. We're going to have to pause.
Well, if you want to talk about some of the newer movies, there's one I really love that came out in 2011 called Priest.
Oh, that was one thing I was going to talk about. There's a lot of movies out there that I didn't really realize were really vampire movies until I started looking up vampire movies.
Priest is a great
movie. Was a great movie.
One of my favorites. The director is Scott Stewart. Paul Bettany, who plays Priest, he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Carl Urban, who played Black Hat.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how you pronounce this dude's last name. My wife loves him, or used to anyway. Cam Gignant or Gamdit. I don't know how you...
Yeah.
He played Hicks.
I don't know.
Maggie Q as the priestess. She's the other one. And Lily Collins is Lucy.
Oh.
And dude, this movie's so good.
Yeah.
The way they filmed it, just that
whole scene on the train.
Oh man.
Oh dude.
The storyline, the freaking...
Yeah, it was like watching a Wild West vampire movie almost.
With modern shit.
With modern weaponry and
dude.
stuff.
And the storyline about who the priests are.
Mm-hmm.
And like Black Hat, who was a priest and was best friends with who I guess they call him priest on here, but it's Paul Bettany's character. They're best friends, and he gets turned into a vampire. So now, not only is he a vampire, but he's also a priest who knows all their training. He's best friends with the main,
right.
And just a great, great movie, dude.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is one of the movies that popped up for me. I never really thought too much about this movie being a vampire movie, but it really is.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
Yep, it's great, man.
It just didn't pop into my head when we were, when I was writing all these down.
See, I love that movie because I loved him. I loved that Paul Bettany guy in Legion.
Oh yeah.
He played Michael, dude. Yeah. That's a great freaking movie.
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about that sometime.
For sure.
But yeah, dude, this movie's really good. Definitely, if you haven't seen it, you gotta watch it. It's a great movie. I'm hoping to come out with a part 2.
Yeah. How about here's another quick mention that I had to write down was Blade.
Of course.
Blade came out in 1998. Wesley Snipes playing the character of
Kick
Blade.
Ass.
He played that part perfectly. He
yeah,
really
dude.
did. He really did. For all his problems with, stuff.
Taxes.
Tax evasion, yeah. He played that part perfectly.
Dude, I love Blade.
I love what they called him. He was called the Daywalker.
Daywalker, yeah.
He was half vampire, half human. It was really cool. Deacon Frost, the guy Stephen Dorff played Deacon Frost.
Yes.
I love how he told him, he said, "You've got all of our strengths and none of our weaknesses." And
dude, and you got
just a great
freaking Chris Christopherson plays Whistler.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
Yeah.
That movie's so. Even I like all of them. I like every one of them. There's one that the only one I didn't like was like they made like a fourth one who Wesley Snipes wasn't in it. It's called
right.
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, dude, it's funny. One of my favorite lines is I think it was in the second one, and that was the one that had like Ron Perlman and Ryan Reynolds. They walk into that big place, and the dude's like, "Hey, have you seen my dog?" And he's like, "Did you check the lobby?"
No, that was no. It wasn't. Ron Perlman wasn't in that one. Ron Perlman was the second one. That's part 3. Triple H was the one who is the guy who had the dogs.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's part 3.
Did you check the lobby?
Yeah, because the dogs. What's funny is the Ryan Reynolds. I love Ryan Reynolds, and he played basically in part 3 of that Whistler's daughter, who's played by freaking oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel, yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds, they have this. It's funny because Blade, they save Blade because Whistler dies or whatever. They save Blade, and he's like, "What do you guys call yourselves?" He's like, "Night Stalkers," and he goes, "Was this some Saturday morning cartoon or something?" And he's like, "Well, we were gonna go with the Care Bears, but that was already taken." Dude, Ryan Reynolds is fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
give him like a
he's
part,
funny
that
in
part you're
everything
talking.
he does.
That part you're talking about. He's they break in. They're getting ready to break out of this place. And they have these two. They have 2 Rottweilers and a little Chihuahua. That's turned into a Pomeranian, and they're turned into the vampire dogs. And he comes running down the hallway. He sees the little Pomeranian dog. He's like, "Fuck me!" He stops, and all of a sudden, those 2 Rotts come around. He's like, "Fuck me!" Sideways. And then like the dogs, and then that's when Triple H. "Have you seen my dog?" He's like, "Have you checked the lobby?" Because they fall through. Dude. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds is so good in that freaking show.
Yeah, it's just a good series. I mean, it's fun watch. There's a lot of action in it.
Great series. Part 3,
and it's a cool story behind it too. Dude, awesome.
Dude, I remember when Blade first came out when I was younger. I was like, dude, I love this movie, man.
Right. Well, and it was based off a comic, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And dude, that just reminds me of Ryan Reynolds, dude. That part where they're like trying to get information out of him, and they got him chained down, and they're like punching him and shit, doing all this stuff to him, and that one chick's like, that one chick who he turned him once before, but he survived or something, or whatever. But anyway, he freaking says something about something about your cock out of my face or something like that, and Triple H is like, "Fuck you." He's like, "I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to her." Yeah. And he's like, she's like, "Where's the chip?" Because he's got a chip in his body. Yeah. He's like, "There's a chip in me that sends a little message out to my buddies here and blah, blah." And then she's like, "Where's that?" He's like, "It's under my left butt cheek." He's like, right by the Hello Kitty tattoo. And he's like, dude, the movie's so good, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. One. Yeah.
I had to bring that up.
Oh, for sure. Another really good one is John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yes, I did write that one down.
In 1998 when it came out, and of course the director is John Carpenter, of course. Has one of my favorite my favorite actors, period, out of everything, James Wood.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
James,
if you don't know that, I'm a big Family Guy fan, and he shows up on Family Guy, and Peter is trying to trap James Woods.
Peter.
So he's putting little pieces of candy on the floor, and James Woods shows up, and he's like, "Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy."
James Wood is probably one of my favorites, man.
Yeah,
I love that dude. I love him.
Have you ever seen the movie Videodrome?
I don't know.
James Woods is in that. I don't want to get too much into that movie, but you need to check it out because it is it came out in the 80s. It's that very psychedelic horror kind of.
Oh, sweet.
You know, they're basically getting into people's heads and fucking with their dreams.
Wait, I have seen
That's the one where he takes the gun and he's rubbing the gun on his belly. He's sitting in a chair watching TV and he's got a pistol and he's rubbing it on his belly. And then next thing, he's like shoving this pistol into his stomach and then the pistol disappears.
Oh, like a whole nother freaking...
Dude.
So kind of like Night of Demons with the lipstick.
Yeah. Not quite, but...
So, yeah. James Wood, he plays Jack Crow, who's the main vampire hunter. And he works for the Vatican, basically. Or the Catholic Church.
Right.
You got Daniel Baldwin, who plays Anthony Montoya. You got Cheryl Lee, who plays Katrina. And then some Thomas Ian Griffith, who played Valak, who is the main
wonder
vampire.
if he's related to Peter.
Peter Parker. No, Peter. Peter. One of my favorite, not my favorite actors, but a guy I love seeing in movies because he always has a great part. Mark Boone Jr. And you know this guy. He plays in everything. He played Catlin. You remember the movie, right? He was the bearded guy with the long hair, short, fat guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
The one who gets killed by Valk at the door.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
He's in everything he's in. He does a great job. He played in Sons of Anarchy. He's been in a ton of movies. Mm-hmm. It's hard. I can't pronounce this dude's name, but you know him. He played what's his name in Mortal Kombat.
That's so funny. You know him. You love him.
That guy.
That guy.
Carrie Hiroyuki Tagawa.
Yeah, it's like somebody just threw up the alphabet.
His name's David.
David. We're gonna go with
in the
David.
Show.
We're gonna go with
in the movies, David Deo. But you know him. He played the main guy in Mortal Kombat movie, the first Mortal Kombat movie. Shang Tsung.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
He played him. He's been in a ton of movies,
right.
You know. But anyway, there's all some of the main characters.
My
in
favorite
there.
was Raiden.
Yes.
But
anyway, these guys, they work for the church, the Baptist church or whatever church, Catholic church, and they hunt vampires and kill them.
Yeah. And
they get funded through the church. They have a priest who's with them at all times. And dude, that movie's so freaking good.
Yeah.
Basically, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's funny. Not one of my favorite movies, but definitely one of my favorite directors.
Yeah.
How can you go wrong with John Carpenter?
I mean, period. I love the movie. It's one of my favorites. But I'm a vampire head.
Right.
I mean, that's my gig, But yeah, I mean, basically, these guys, they're hunting vampires and they run into this big nest. They didn't think there was a nest this big anymore. And they kill a bunch of vampires. They thought they had the main guy, but the main guy wasn't staying at the house that all the other vampires were. He was buried underground. Anyway, and then the Valak, who's the head vampire, comes and he comes to the hotel party that they're all having and kills a bunch of basically his whole team besides him and his buddy Montoya. It goes from there. I mean, he hunts Valak down, and they use one of the girls, Katrina. They use her because she got bit by Valak, and they use her to track him down, and so they can hunt him and kill him. It's a really good movie. One of my favorites, I gotta say.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna throw this out there because I really don't know, but there was a movie came out in I think it was around 02, 03, somewhere around in there, called Vampires Los Muertos. And it's got John Bon Jovi
in it.
Now, is that considered a part two?
I think it's a part. I think it's somewhat of a part two of that movie.
Kind of the same deal. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that movie too much, but I I just found that interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Carpenter's Vampires is a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
It really is. James Woods did play. I mean, he was great in that.
Awesome, dude.
I mean, he's great in a lot of stuff he does,
I love him. He's one of my favorites. I like him all around.
Interesting James Woods fact. James Woods had a massive heart attack because he had a massive heart-on. He accidentally double dosed on his Viagra.
Sounds like my type of party,
and
son.
He had a heart attack. Anyway, just a weird tidbit of news.
That's my boy.
You're a badass when you do some shit like
yeah,
that.
son. That's my boy.
So I'm going to throw this out there to my lovely wife because I'm going to talk about one of her favorite actors who she has told me that if there was ever a chance, she would leave me for this guy. But we're going to talk about Gerard Butler in Dracula 2000.
I would leave you too because he's one of my favorite actors.
That movie is so good.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, the story behind that movie, the people that were in that movie, just the effects that they had, the whole atmosphere of the movie.
My wife loves that movie.
And the biggest thing, Slayer did the theme song for it. No, Slayer did do a song for that called Bloodlines. But, yeah, Dracula 2000, was about a story about some people that they robbed Van Helsing's safe. He has captured Dracula and he has him in a coffin inside a bunker at, Carfax Abbey. In London, and he has him in the basement in the special vault, and these people go in to rob this vault, and they find the casket, and so the casket is a metal casket with crosses on it to keep Dracula from getting out of it, and it's on this table. Well, the first kill of the movie is they try to move it off this table, and these spikes come down, and they gig this guy. Well, they end up getting this casket out, and they put it on a plane, and they're going to bring it back to the United States. Well, one of the guys, which is funny, was Danny Masterson.
Yeah.
Ends up...
Who's a Scientologist, by the way.
Yeah, who ends up accidentally opening this casket and lets Dracula out.
Yeah.
On the plane.
Yeah.
We've all heard of snakes on a plane. Now you've got
these motherfucking Draculas on this motherfucking plane.
And then of course, he kills everybody on board. The plane crashes.
Now he is
unleashed in New Orleans.
Yeah, dude, and that's cool. But it's in New Orleans, man. And like his the way Gerard played this part, like, was really, really good. I remember he had just such a straight face.
Yeah, he was
stoic.
Yeah, very stoic.
Very stoic face, and he's one of my favorite actors. Period.
Yeah, he is fantastic, dude. 300.
Yeah. Well, there's a movie called P.S. I Love You. It's a chick flick.
Yeah, and he was fantastic. I mean, he is great in everything he does. Really, yeah. I mean, he just
Olympus Has Fallen.
Yes,
and London Has Fallen, dude.
Yeah.
When
he's done some great stuff. He's got a new movie out right now where he's the captain of a submarine.
Yeah, yep.
I
can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah, that was probably, of course it came out in 2000, hence the name Dracula 2000. I thought it was a fantastic,
representation.
Yeah, the way they changed it a little bit, and and just the scenes. I love how they would change him into mist and then back into form, and it just.
My wife.
I love that movie. It's giving me chills just thinking about it.
My wife loves that movie.
Cool movie. Cool movie.
Yeah, and well, I mean, just so I got another one I'm going to mention for sure. But since you're talking about Dracula Untold.
Yes. Oh, who was that guy?
I can't remember his name, the main actor, but I mean, I got IBD right here, so. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's a freaking It's a damn...
Yeah, I love how they went back and they told... See, the Dracula Untold movie is the story, really, of Vlad the Impaler, of Vlad Tepes. And they go back and they tell his story on why he was such an evil person, and then they kind of turn it on its axis and show him as turning into Dracula.
Yeah, Gary, the guy who played Dracula was Luke Evans.
Yeah.
And that dude is awesome.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Fast and the Furious,
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast, freaking High Rise, State Like Sleep.
We don't want to get too much into the guy, but I mean, you guys will recognize him when you see the movie. He's been in a lot of stuff.
That movie is so good. I bought that movie when it first came out. Like, it's
really good. Really
it's
good.
It's a great film.
There's a lot of really cool atmospheric stuff in there.
Oh, for sure.
And
his suit, his armor.
Suit, yeah, the armor. Oh, yeah, that's
looks like muscle almost.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, really cool movie. So, can I mention a couple goofy ones? I want to get goofy here.
For sure. I got one I'm going to mention at the end.
I just want to get really goofy here. I'm going to talk about Dracula Dead and Loving It. with
Leslie Nielsen.
The amazing Leslie Nielsen. If you like slapstick comedy with some horror twisted in it, you gotta see.
Open the window. Open the window. No, shut the window.
You know, you have not seen anything until you see Leslie Nielsen playing Bram Stoker's Dracula.
No, not that one. The other.
Okay.
Open the window. Close the window.
just a really fun movie to watch. I mean, you know, just a lot of slapstick comedy in there. It's like watching Airplane, but you know, with a vampire theme.
That's a really good movie.
Oh my God, love that movie. And another kind of funny one that's a love story that I remember seeing as a kid, and I really loved this movie when I was a kid. I tried to watch it recently, and I don't know, I just can't get into it like I did when I was a kid. But there was this movie called Love at First Bite, and it had George Hamilton in it and Susan St. James. Yeah, Susan St. James. It came out in 1979, and it was basically Dracula comes to America.
Yeah.
And he is living in an apartment. Dracula is played by George Hamilton, and he's living in an apartment, in a high-rise apartment with Renfield, which I don't remember the guy who played Renfield, but anyway, he falls in love with Susan St. James, who is supposed to be marrying somebody else, and it's all about the war between, you know, the other guy and him, and it's a love story with a, you know, vampire background. Twist, you know, I mean, it just there's a lot of like 70s disco music in it and stuff, and it's a fun movie to watch.
No, I got that stuck in my head.
There's no horror to it whatsoever.
I got that damn stuck in my head.
What's that?
Open the window. No, not that window. Close the window. Open the door.
Yeah.
No, not that. The other. Close the door. Open the door. Yeah, dude, that's so funny.
Oh my God.
That's a good one, man. Well, there's one more I definitely want to talk about real fast, and it's another staple of mine, and that's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
1992.
Yes. All iterations of that.
Yes.
We got to talk about it.
Yes, 1992. The movie came out.
Christy Swanson.
Dude, she was good looking for sure. But the movie,
she doesn't hold a candle to Sarah Michelle Gellar though.
The movie itself is just a really, really good movie for me. Had Luke Perry in it. Had let's see,
Paul Rubens
in it,
who we all know is Pee Wee Herman.
Yep. Had freaking our David Arquette.
Yeah.
Great freaking movie, fun movie to watch. Yes. If you got kids, you can watch it. One thing I want to mention real fast: cannot watch John Carpenter's Vampires for Kids. Yeah. That one's got all kinds of nudity.
Definitely don't want to watch From Dusk Till Dawn with your kids.
Yeah, same thing with John Carpenter Vampires. A ton of nudity in it. I mean, but anyway, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, great movie. You can watch with your kids. That movie, it's weird. It had a lot. I mean, like I said, I was a vampire hunter when I was a kid. You know what I mean? So that movie really spawned that in me. And like I just remember watching that, like it'd come on Showtime or something.
Yeah.
I watch it all the time, man.
Yeah.
And just the whole, the whole aspect of it, teenage girl who's the chosen one to, kill vampires.
Yeah, and she doesn't want to be.
She doesn't want to be.
She doesn't want to be. She wants to be. She just wants to be a high school teenager living her life.
What's she say in there? She said, I don't want to be a vampire slayer. I want to graduate high school, marry Christian Slater, and ride off in the sunset or something like that.
Yeah.
And but it's a good movie. Really good movie for kids to watch. There's not really too much gore in it. There's no nudity. There's nothing like that. It's just a real good, fun horror movie, which spun off a really great TV series.
A fantastic series that ran for a long time.
Very long time. And I watched it all the time.
The series, it's funny. I liked the series better than I did the movie, but I was absolutely head over heels in love with Sarah Michelle Gellar. I thought she was just one of the most beautiful women back then. She's still very pretty. But that whole series of these kids, even though, she's the chosen one, she's a vampire hunter, she's got her friends, she's got her clique that she wants to hang out with. It had the very lovely Charisma Carpenter in it. And
I like freaking
Allison Hannigan.
Yes.
Very pretty. And the guys that were in it, it's funny. I remember the girls, but I don't remember the guys.
Well, actually, I do. I like the dude who played
Giles.
I like Giles. And I like the guy who played what's his name? Was it Zane? What's his name?
Zach or something.
Zeke or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, her main friend, the guy. I like him. I like him as an actor.
And then
I mean, it had a few different characters. And freaking for one time, for a point in the time there, Brian Austin Green was there. Not Brian Austin Green. Yeah. Right?
Brian Austin Green. Yeah.
He was on there. For a while.
And then what the hell is that? The guy's name that played Angel.
Oh, I don't know his name.
David Boreanaz.
Yeah,
he was in it for a while, and then
Spike.
She had Spike, and then when Faith showed up.
Yeah.
God. I knew her name because I have dreams about her still. But anyway, just an awesome series. And, the whole thing had to do with her friendship with these people. They knew who she was. Now, not everybody in school knew who she was or what was going on in Sunnyvale. Sunnyvale was being overrun by vampires.
It was a hellhole. It was
up to Buffy to stop them.
Yeah.
And she used her friends to do that. And great series.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But,
I think that's just a list.
That's just a quick rundown of some of our favorite vampire flicks.
Some suggestions for you guys.
There's a lot of them that I may have forgotten, and
there's plenty. But
I'm sure once we stop this, I'm going to be like, oh crap, I can't believe I didn't talk about this. Or
there's a bunch of them out there.
There's so many. We'll talk about more vampire movies.
On,
Now here pretty soon, we are actually going to do a vampire episode.
Yes. Yeah.
We know that this is a vampire episode, but this is more of a vampire movie TV show episode. We are actually going to get down and dirty and in depth with the origins of vampires and where they came from and how it led to the modern day, the way you think of vampires now. We're actually trying to find some people.
Maybe a little surprise here. I might try to find somebody that's either A, consider themselves one, or B, consider themselves a vampire hunter. One of the two.
Right.
You know what I mean? I used to, so I guess I can interview myself, but I'm not into it now. So we're gonna work hard on that one. That's gonna be a big episode for us.
Yeah, for sure.
And so like I said, guys, we're gonna be doing a lot of different things. We're in the process right now of moving into YouTube and doing all this other stuff.
Right.
So we're kind of so busy that it's hard for us to freaking put that much effort into the researching right now.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like
we do it.
But we're getting stretched here, but we're doing it and we're gonna do it because we love you guys and we want to put out an awesome show for you guys.
We do.
So that's going to be it for this one, guys. And as always, hit us up on Facebook at the Horror Chronicles Podcast. Hit us up on our email
horrorchroniclespodcast@gmail.com.
And by the time this comes out, you could probably catch us on YouTube.
Yep.
Please check out our YouTube, guys. Subscribe to it. Hit the bell so you get notifications when we put up new episodes.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Just type in the Horror Chronicles podcast and we'll pop right up.
Yep. Click on it, subscribe to it, hit the bell so that whenever we have new episodes, it'll pop up and show you a little message that we got a new one up. Share it with your friends, with your family. And like I said, you know we love you guys. We're trying to do the best we can for you. Give us suggestions. Send us some emails. Let us know what you want to hear. If you want us to tell your story, we'll tell your story. If you want to come on the show, we'll get you on the show. So, we love you guys. And as always, until next time.
Try not to get bitten tonight and keep it creepy.